we'll begin with Dr. Analette Lopez. So she's actually our first speaker for today. So Dr. Analette Carrasco, I'm sorry, she's actually married and she's a mom now. She finished her Bachelor's of Agricultural Chemistry degree from the University of the Philippines, Los Baños. And then after that, she actually taught for a couple of years before she went to grad school at the University of Houston, where she earned both her master's and PhD degree in chemistry. So after getting her PhD here in the US, she actually moved to Michigan, where she worked as a research fellow, as a research scientist. So dun po, she actually worked in the biologic and material sciences department of that university. So she's actually a well-rounded scientist because she has tackled different roles and projects involving organic and analytical chemistry, surface and biomaterials, polymers, surfactants, fracturing, and stimulation additives. So ito po, i-share po ni Miss Analette Carrasco kung paano ba niya naabot itong mga or na-reach itong mga milestones na to sa pamamagitan ng kanyang mga natutunan sa STEM or sa STEM education. All right, so take it away, Ate Analette.
Okay, so nasa-share na ba yung screen? Nakikita nyo na siya? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So good morning, good evening, and good afternoon sa lahat ng viewers ng presentation na to. Ang assigned topic sa akin for this session is actually how to encourage knowledge application through STEM education. So pag-iisipin natin, yung topic talaga is yung effective STEM education encourages knowledge application. So, ano ba yung ibig sabihin nun para sa atin? Siguro mas magandang tanong is kung paano kung hindi pala effective. So, ano yung manifestation na makikita natin usually sa mga estudyante natin? So, madalas nakikita natin either bored sila, disconnected, distracted, wala silang interest. So kahit magsalita ka, kahit ikwento mo lahat, kahit anong sabihin mo, hindi sila makikinig sa'yo o hindi yun papasok sa mga isip nila. So ano ba yung task natin as educators? It's just simple. Gawin natin kung ano yung hard and complex, gawin natin siyang easy and simple. Diba? Gawin natin yung mga unpleasant na nakikita nila or yung mga perception nila about science and about STEM in general na maging enjoyable for them. And at the same time, yung mga things na disconnected, hindi nila magets kasi wala silang makitang reference point, is gawin nating relatable to them. So in short, for me, ang pinaka-importanting kailangan mong trabahuhin as an educator is to make it a personal experience. So nakikita natin yung dalawang picture dito. Gusto mo ba na every time nagsasalita ka, parang inaantok yung estudyante mo, as opposed to very engaged and highly interactive yung klase natin. So syempre mas gusto natin nakikita kasi nakaka-inspire din sa mga teachers na nakikita natin yung mga estudyante na nag-i-interact sa atin, 'di ba? So paano natin yun gagawin? Here, these are some of the thoughts that I kind of compiled, nakita natin to from twigeducation.com na may mga suggestions sila for overcoming challenges in STEM education. So we mentioned in the previous slide na main challenges would be bored yung mga tao, disconnected sila, lack of interest, and talagang wala lang talaga sila, wala para sa kanila yung mga tinuturo mo. So ano yung mga pwede natin gawin as teachers? So the first thing is we teach them young. So sabi nila, yung mga bata, mas madali silang turuan kasi unang-una, curious pa sila. And yung minds nila, madali pa silang mamold. So when we say that we start them young, so yung mga bata, kahit na hindi pa nila talaga maiintindihan yung concept, ang pinaka-importante na gagawin natin is i-introduce natin sila, bibigyan natin sila ng exposure. So for example, lalo na sa mga magulang, actually mas applicable siya sa mga magulang, 'di ba? Kasi sila yung unang teachers sa bahay. So pag nilabas mo yung mga bata, lumabas kayo, nagpunta kayo sa park, so i-describe niyo yung weather, i-describe niyo yung mga plants na nakikita niyo, as simple as that, you can already start teaching STEM to your kids. Second is innovative teaching. So later on in the presentation, actually maraming example. We did this dry run itong talk na to, and I realized na ang dami-daming tips na matututunan nyo on innovative teaching. So usually, mahirap talagang mag-prepare ng curriculum na ituturo, di ba? And ang ating usual default is to do a lecture, no? Sasabihin lang natin, okay, ganito yung mga nangyayari. Okay, ito yung book, basahin niyo siya, tapos ituturo mo, babasahin mo din yung book, or basically just i-discuss mo lang siya. Pero actually, it's very important that you actually put a little bit more effort in trying to innovate in the way you teach the class. So dito, ano yung mga pumapasok dito? Later, meron akong mga tips sa inyo kung paano nyo pwedeng ipakita sa klase nyo yung application ng knowledge. So, paano natin yung gagawin? Meron akong mga examples na ibibigay sa inyo later. Yung topical science naman is more of like you choose some topics that are relevant. So, like right now, so pwede nating i-insert yung mga current events. So, for example, sa Pilipinas, pagka nangyayari yung mga natural disasters, pwede natin dun isingit yung mga concept ng science and technology natin, di ba? Or yung COVID right now. So, pwede natin pag-usapan yung discussion like whether magmamask or not magmamask, di ba? Magpapavaccine, bakit importante yung vaccine? Kasi right now, minsan nakikita natin na yung mga tao, nagiging divided sila, hindi nila masyadong naiintindihan. Pero ngayon, kapag ipinapatong na natin yung fundamental ng science to actual reality, yung mga events, doon mas nagiging importante, doon sa mga tao at mas naiintindihan nila yung nangyayari. So, then eventually going digital. So, digital is actually is trending, di ba? So, kahit na ano pang sabihin natin, yung mga bata, yun na siguro yung fastest and quickest way to engage them. Kasi interested sila dito. It's not really something new, pero hindi pa kasi sa kanila masyadong na-open up yung idea na going digital. So, nakikita ko kahit dun sa mga anak ko na, mahilig silang mag-iPad, mahilig silang manood, mahilig silang gumawa ng kahit ano sa computer. And actually, if you use this method sa way of teaching mo, study shows na nakaka-reduce din siya ng time for preparation of materials for teaching. And then finally is erasing gender divide. So right now, actually, wini-welcome ng science ang all genders. So tapos na yung time wherein dapat ang male, sila lang yung nagiging engineer, Actually ngayon, sa field ko, even yung mga babae, nasa field sila. They stay like even the most exotic places para mag-work as either a field engineer or a chemist, yung ganon. So, wala na yun. Ngayon, wini-welcome na natin ang lahat ng gender. So, dapat kahit sa klase natin, ini-engage natin at lalo na pag nagkakaroon ng expression yung mga estudyante natin, to what profession they wanted to go to later on. So pinakikinggan natin yun at lalo natin ini-encourage yung mga bata dun sa mga gusto nilang gawin. Kasi kapag nakikita ng mga bata na ini-encourage natin sila, lalo silang nagmo-motivate na mag-work hard para mag-achieve. So, while I was preparing itong presentation, I've come across this quote. Sabi dito, knowledge is like paint. It does no good until it is applied. Oo nga naman. So, for example, ako yung teacher and then sinasabi ko sa inyo ngayon, so what is paint? So then I'll describe it. Paint is actually a colored liquid, this substance. It contains pigments, binders, extenders, solvent, and additives. So kung ikaw ang estudyante, so what, di ba? So ano sa'yo yun? Ang matatandaan mo siguro dun sa mga sinabi ko, yeah, it's colored substance. It's very obvious. Pero once you started and continue on by saying, for example, yung paint is actually used saan? So it can actually decorate, protect, prolong the life of natural and synthetic materials and surfaces. And also it can serve as a barrier against environmental hazard. Once you start saying things like that, nagkakaroon na ng purpose yung paint. And from then, naiisip nila, okay, so maganda siya, iba-ibang kulay, no? Pwede nga naman siyang pang-decorate. Saan ba siya madalas ginagamit? Okay, nagpipaint tayo ng bahay. Bakit nagpipaint ng bahay? Dahil lang ba gusto natin siyang pagandahin? Well, that's one though. Kasi namimili tayo ng kulay ng bahay, di ba? Yun na ipipaint. Then, ang kotse, bakit nilalagyan ng paint? Of course, it's protecting yung surface. it's preventing some sort of corrosion or it's delaying corrosion. So yung mga things like that, we are starting to activate the brain. Nagkakaroon ng purpose yung statement mo. So it's the same as knowledge, di ba? Yung knowledge ng STEM education. What we want to do is hindi lang tayo nagbibigay ng definition. We're trying to actually build that connection. Nagkakaroon tayo ng purpose, and by having that purpose, nagbibigay yun ng value dun sa pinag-uusapan natin. So yun yung gusto nating mangyari sa mga estudyante kapag ka nagtuturo tayo ng STEM. So as I mentioned before, so ito yung mga strategies na pwede natin gawin sa class natin. So first is learning through failure. A lot of times, pag teacher ka, you would encourage your student to be successful. But why would I recommend, for example, that you do your class such as a way na encourage mo yung failure? So for example, if I'm your teacher, I will ask you, okay, do something that, like make some building that will fail, like will fall, or a bridge that will fall, or like a tunnel that will flood. Hindi mo yun gagawin. But then you realize now when you do that, when you teach somebody, if they actually know how to make it fail, then they would know how to make it better. And how yun, parang naiintindihan nila talaga yung process. So yun, pwede niyong gawin, for example, pagka nagtuturo kayo, ask them, for example, to do sa nutrition, give me an example of a bad diet. So parang negative yung ask mo, but then the truth is yung learning process is different, di ba? So mas natututunan nila siya. Pwede mo rin gawin yung critical debate. So debate is pretty much asking them to have a conversation on controversial issues. Again, yung sinabi kong example before, yung to mask or to not mask, di ba? Or to vaccine or not vaccine. So, and then yun makikita mo kung ano yung magiging mga points ng mga estudyante mo, paano sila mag-isip. And from there, hindi lang yung nakikita mo kung naiintindihan nila yung mga sinasabi nila, at the same time, nagkakaroon ka rin ng perspective kung ano yung mga values ng mga estudyante na hawak mo. The third point is brain drain, or it's almost similar to a brainstorming. So in this case, pwede ka sigurong mag-pick ng scenario, and then you try to ask them what do they think about it. And for example, ano yung mga implications. So for example, ang topic ko is a natural disaster. So bakit siya nangyayari? Anong mga pwede natin gawin during that time, di ba? So magkakaroon kayo ng mga brainstorming sessions, pwede silang magsulat sa mga post-it, ito yung mga naiisip nila, and then let them present it in an organized way. So in that way, iba-iba yung mga strategies na gagawin mo, pero at the same time, mas magiging interactive yung classes ninyo. Merong isa pa dito na strategy, we call it like point counterpoint. Pwede natin itong gawin siguro sa klase na pwede mong gawin actually sa whole class mo. It's almost like a recitation type. So dun sa point counterpoint, so again, you talk about one issue na, para lang siyang debate, but instead of having like one group versus the other, ang gagawin mo is like just one person starts the conversation about a very important topic, and then call another person and then ask them to counter the point of the first person. And then from there, make everybody kind of list like the points that they find strong and the points that they think that, it's not making quite sense. So after that, then yun, isang way din yun para makita mo kung paano mag-isip yung mga estudyante mo. And of course, there's always the presentation. Presentation is kind of being usual na, pero we can always be creative, record, do live demos type. And then simulations. So usually ang naisip natin sa simulations, medyo technical, no? Things that you do in computer, but it doesn't have to be really. So just think about like trying to create a scenario out of a real situation. So pwedeng, for example, yung reenactment ng mga CPR, di ba? So you can actually make them do that, but it's actually a simulation of somebody having an actual heart attack, or pwede rin naman kung sa math, for example, so medyo science yung background ko, but then for example sa math, you can actually teach them to how to invest, use simulations and do some kind of investment. So para mas maging interesting for them. And the rest of this case study, then we can find studies that are available online. or we can actually use movies for mas nakaka-engage din yung panoorin nila, and then instead of like book report na ginagawa natin for literature classes, yung movie applications. So some of them are like yung Lorax is about forest, yung Armageddon is about end of the world. So you can see pretty much from these movies na meron din naman silang malalearn, and then let them figure out what's the science behind it, and then make it a topic to present in class. So these are just some of the strategies na pwede nyong i-apply for STEM classes that will actually, show some application at mas makaka-relate yung estudyante nyo. Ngayon, gusto kong mag-share sa inyo a little bit of ano naman yung personal opportunities ko for knowledge application. So having the background ng agricultural chemistry, it's very natural for me na ang first application of my research of my bachelor's degree is on post-harvest or related sa agriculture, partly chemistry. So here, I was extending shelf life of fruits kasi very important siya, not just for consumption, for food consumption, but at the same time for export. After that, Jeff mentioned that I've also worked as an educator, so nagturo din ako. So in that way, I was a teacher for 3 years of general chemistry, organic and analytical chemistry sa UPLB. Ito yung set ng mga estudyante ko na I'm very proud of them because until now, we still interact. And you would think na, we still consult on each other's about yung mga experiences namin naman ngayon. So yun ay nagiging interaction ko sa mga estudyante ko. After that, moving here, yung application naman, it becomes biomedical application. So ang naging research ko kasi is more on surface antimicrobial polymers and bacterial interaction. So right now, all of yung mga research ko is being applied for infectious diseases involving biomedical devices. And moving on, I have been working in the industry for the last 9 years. And right now, ang nagagamit ko naman na knowledge is how to solve problems, processes, simplification, at saka product development. Now, more than all of this, I can also use whatever knowledge that I have acquired from STEM, hindi lang siguro yung knowledge, but at the same time yung skills that I got from it to volunteer opportunities. So all in all, I would say I love being a scientist and I love to share kung ano yung mga natutunan ko. And hopefully, dun sa first part nitong session na to, meron kayong nakuha on how to apply yung knowledge application. So having an effective education, STEM education, how can it help encourage knowledge application? But siguro yung pinaka main event for me, I would say is yung biggest challenge ko is yung being a mom, is how to promote fun and interactive practical learning for my kids. So siguro makikita nyo na may STEM lover talaga ang mom nila. So sa bahay, naggagawa kami ng mga mini experiments. Tinatry kong ilagay yung kanilang mga energy and interest into something that they can also learn and fun for them, interactive and practical. So maraming opportunities dito rin. So nung pandemic, we have to default to things like this, what is available. At the same time, I also encourage them to look at like yung mga online education na available. So you can see, I'm also a supporter of yung even Nintendo, no? Kasi siguro sinasabi natin before, wag masyadong mag-computer. So this yung Nintendo game na to, I really like it in a way because parang you start making the stuff. So meron siyang aspect na you have to build before you can even play. And from that, you can already discover stuff. So again, with my kids, I'm also doing a lot of experimentation. Kaya wala talagang one size fits all. Kailangan talaga i-try natin kung ano yung mag-fit at magiging effective. So hopefully may na-learn kayo dun sa first part of the session. And pretty much,